Well, welcome to the Explore and More Show. My name's Ken Conan. I am the official rookie, and I've got our expert with us today. He's Mr. Ted Blank with Ted Blank Travel, Luxury Travel and Adventures.
It is Ted Blank Luxury Travel and Adventure, and for the past 10 years, I've been helping folks plan their trips of a lifetime, their luxury dream vacations, and so here we are again for another episode.
And Mr. Blank is fresh off a cruise, so
I
think we might even hear about that one today, if I heard you right.
I think we'll talk a little bit about that, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about, the pros and cons of cruising, and maybe the pros and cons of taking a resort vacation instead. So
like it. And if I remember right, you were down in the Caribbean, is that right?
I was on a very short cruise. It was a seminar cruise for travel advisors, so part of it was a learning opportunity, and we had the opportunity to travel in the Yacht Club.
Wow.
And the Yacht Club is an exclusive little enclave that's on the top couple decks of some large cruise ships owned by a company called MSC Cruises.
Okay.
And so what they've done is they've created a ship within a ship, a little luxury enclave of about 250 people on a ship that carries about 5,000 passengers.
Wow.
And I was very impressed. They did a really, really nice job and puts a little bit of a different spin on taking kind of one of those resort-style cruises in the Caribbean. And so I thought we could talk a little bit about that today.
And when you say resort style, what do you mean by that? I don't know if
so that's a great question. Yeah. And there are really kind of two different types of cruising. There's destination cruising, and that's what we talk about a lot. That's where the destination is the primary focus.
Sure.
So for example, cruising to Alaska, cruising to the Mediterranean, cruising to the Baltic Sea. The primary reason to go there is to see the glaciers, to see the Vatican in Italy. River cruising, another example of destination cruising. And so about 75% of the cruises that operate would be considered destination cruises. The other 25% are considered resort cruises. And that's what we think about a lot when we think about cruising. Those are those bigger ships that cruise in warm water places, primarily the Caribbean, a little bit along the Mexican Riviera. And the purpose of that vacation, it isn't necessarily to go and get a deep understanding of the history of the Caribbean. It's just to enjoy the weather, relax, have a cocktail, enjoy the spa, just have a relaxing resort vacation. So this trip would definitely fit into that kind of resort style of cruising. And the competition for that would be a land-based resort, whether it's an all-inclusive resort or a what we'd call a European plan or a non-all-inclusive resort. And so people might be choosing between the two different types of vacations.
Nice. And on the ship that you were on, you mentioned it was MSC. It was the Yacht Club that you were in. Do other cruise liners have kind of an upgraded, or is this kind of something a little abnormal?
This is a very unique execution. So, all cruise ships have suites. And that's pretty common, and junior suites and mini suites and all sorts of different stateroom categories. But only a couple of the cruise lines have this cruise within a cruise concept. Norwegian Cruise Line has what they call the Haven. Celebrity Cruises has what they call the Sanctuary. Princess Cruises has the Sanctuary. Celebrity Cruises has the Retreat. And then MSC has their Yacht Club. And they're all kind of similar. But MSC was really the first cruise line to do this from the ground up. And they built their ships with this intentionally included. And really to offer those two different experiences on board the same ship was really unique. And so others have kind of come along and put their own spin on it. But MSC was really the first to bring it to the mass market. And as a result, they've had a long time to kind of tweak things and make sure everything works well. And, it's tough on a bigger cruise ship to not have situations where it might be a little bit crowded or you might have to wait in line or something like that. The pool might be crowded. And what MSC has done is they've just taken that all away. And you arrive at the pier, there's a little blue tent that says MSC Yacht Club. And at that moment, you're separated from the rest of the passengers.
Wow.
So they go up, they go through the normal check-in process, which, it's pretty efficient, but it can still take some time. Someone takes you literally by the hand, walks you to the front of the line, you make a left turn, and you sit down in a small private waiting area, and a butler comes and offers you a glass of champagne.
Wow.
I mean, that's a little different way of embarking on a cruise, right? And from that moment on, you're in the hands of an expert butler.
Wow.
And so, a lot of people ask me the question, what do you do with a butler, and there's a lot that a butler can do for you.
I would ask that all day.
The first thing you do is you have this little suitcase you always carry with you when you travel called worries. Okay. And you give that suitcase to the butler, and you don't have to worry about a thing.
I love it.
Anything you want them to take care of, anything you want them to arrange, they will.
Wow.
Whether it's reservations for one of the upgraded specialty dining restaurants out there, whether you want to go see the show, they'll escort you down to a special seating area. When you're going ashore, they'll take you to an elevator. They have a little magic wand, and all of a sudden you get to the front of the line and boop, down off. So, I mean, really impressive from that perspective. But then the ship within the ship itself, it's on decks 16, 18, 19, and 20 on the front of the ship. And deck 17 is actually unlucky in Italian. Oh. And so there is no deck 17. There is a deck 13, but no deck 17.
So I must assume, is this an Italian cruise company?
This is an Italian cruise
MSC?
line. Yes, that's right. I should have said that. They're an Italian cruise company. So a lot of Italian influences on there. Really good pasta. Their pizza, best pizza at sea. Just top notch pizza. And again, you've got a butler.
Yeah.
He's got pizza for you. Anytime you want it, he'll have a pizza for you.
Oh, this sounds like
so it's really, it really is a nice job. But the front of the ship has these special deck areas. All the suites, and there's sort of junior suites and bigger suites are located in this area. There's a private indoor lounge that's a cocktail lounge. There's a private dining room that has a different menu than the rest of the ship. Wow. There are no reservations required. You just show up and sit down and have a nice breakfast or lunch or dinner. And then there's a private sun deck that has its own pool, has some whirlpools, comfy chairs with big cushions on them, pergolas. There's a bar, great service. There's even a little buffet up there. So everything you need is kind of enclosed in this little area. And so you could certainly go on this cruise and never leave that space. Yeah. But downstairs, there's all sorts of fun things to go see and do as well. Great shows, all sorts of different musical venues with different types of entertainment, whether you like jazz, whether maybe you like some dancing. There's a kids water park, really nice water park, really extensive kids program. And in fact, they'll actually work with kids who are still in diapers, which is pretty unusual on a cruise ship. And then, casinos and all the spas and all the things that make a big resort-style cruise fun and exciting. Yeah. You've got access to that, but you've got your little private retreat that you can head back to when you want to.
You mentioned the show thing earlier. That was something when Shannon and I went on our Alaska cruise. It was in the worry bag for us because we were worried that, gosh, how early do we need to get either in line for a good show or arrive? It was just in a little worry bag for us, like you said.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There sometimes are those little worries, and at the end of the day, it usually works out. You're going to get to see the show, but all those things you gave those to the butler, and now you get it back when you get off. Unfortunately, he hands you the bag back, and then he's like, "Oh, and by the way, your flight's going to be 15 minutes late."
Right, you're good.
Yeah.
Oh, that is fun. That is fun. So any, along the way, any kind of highlights on the, I know it was just a 3-dayer.
It was a very short cruise. Yeah, one of the highlights that MSC offers, and there's a Yacht Club special piece to it as well, is their private island in the Bahamas. Oh. And a lot of cruise lines have these little islands that the ships go to, and they're only open to that cruise ship for the day. And you can enjoy the beautiful white sandy beaches and just those, blue, crystal blue waters of the Bahamas. MSC's is called Ocean Key. Okay. And it's a really beautiful island. They've actually been trying to restore the natural ecosystem. It was in kind of rough shape when they purchased it. So trees, they're trying to restore the reefs and stuff. Beautiful beaches, whether you want to swim on the ocean, whether you want to swim on the lagoon side of things, it's a little more sheltered. So if you have kids, that exists. The ship docks at this island, so you actually get off and walk. Okay. And some cruise lines, you have to take a tender. Sure. And that's just kind of a little bit of a suboptimal experience.
But tender meaning
a little boat that takes you back and forth. And you just have to wait a little bit for that. But the neat thing here is that, again, the Yacht Club has its own special beach. Private beach, chairs with cushions.
No way.
And a real restaurant.
Oh, my
Sit-down restaurant with table service.
Wow.
And so I had a lobster roll. And pistachio cheesecake. How perfect is that? So for the rest of the passengers, they actually have some different food trucks scattered around, as well as sort of a buffet-style restaurant. But for the Yacht Club, there is that special restaurant as well. So it's just, they take every experience and they really put a cherry on top. Yeah. And I think, for folks who've maybe traveled to resorts before. Maybe they've stayed at a 5-star resort, like say a Sandals resort or something like that. Maybe even had a butler room at a Sandals resort. This is a great alternative to that. And it's a great introduction to the world of cruising. And you might find you really like it. Yeah. And all of a sudden, you've converted from being a resort goer to a cruise goer. And so that happens a lot. But a lot of people like to shake it up too. And one year they'll go to a resort, the next year they'll go take a cruise. And so lots of options for folks. But I would encourage people just to really think about this as an option that they probably aren't familiar with. But it's a really fantastic experience.
I love it. So myself, I love the ocean, the water. Scuba diving is a thing I do. Snorkeling with my wife. Are those options as well? I would guess they would be, but
absolutely. So it certainly would depend on the port you're going to. But in the Bahamas, you can snorkel quite a bit. The Bahamas have pretty clear waters. And so in some of the ports, they'll actually have a shore excursion where you can go snorkeling. Wow. And I know you were in Nassau and stayed at a resort. Yeah. The Yacht Club members can actually go to that resort for the day. Really? Experience the resort. And if they want to go scuba diving, they can go scuba diving.
Oh, my goodness.
At the private island, there's no scuba diving, but there is snorkeling.
Okay.
And so you can rent snorkel equipment if you don't have your own.
Which I found the snorkeling to be exceptional in the Bahamas.
It is, because it's shallow and clear. Shallow and clear.
Yeah. And a good array of fish. I saw some rays. I mean, I was pretty surprised.
Yeah, no, they actually have kind of a little whiteboard by the front of the island that talks about all the different wildlife sightings.
Fun.
And they have a lot of nurse sharks. As well, so they warn people about that. They're like, if you see a nurse shark, it's okay. They're not going to eat you. They're more scared of you than you are of them. But kind of like the bears in Alaska. It's nice to know that they're there before you get surprised by a piece of wildlife. So,
I got to tell you a crazy story. We were on a trip one time, Shannon and I, years ago in Belize, and we were on a boat that took us out to the shark area. And it was all nurse sharks. And the first thing they said was, depart off the front of the bow of the boat, so the front of the boat, jump in, and then swim around to the back. That's where they're kind of feeding the nurse sharks. One of our folks on the boat literally went right to the back and jumped right on top of all the sharks.
Well, they might not like that quite so much.
Wow. Nope, they didn't like that.
Didn't like that.
She got a little scratched up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, that is something, actually, that's a really good point, is the excursions and the activities that you can do in port when you're on a cruise. And so MSC tends to have cruises to the Eastern and the Western Caribbean. And the Western Caribbean has some great snorkeling destinations. Cozumel, for example, great place to do that. The Eastern Caribbean, probably not quite so much, although St. John's is a good place to go, and they do have cruises that visit St. Thomas as well.
Interesting. I love it. Awesome. Any other highlights we want to talk on the 3 day?
I think I was very impressed by the size and the appointments in the stateroom. It was extremely comfortable, and for 2 people, more than enough space. And a lot of times on cruise ships, sometimes the cabins feel a little bit cramped. This was not the case. And in fact, I kind of wanted to take the bathroom home with me.
Really?
It had a marble shower. It had a seat in it. It was really, really nice. I mean, just a beautiful, beautiful bathroom. A double wide balcony out there, so you could sit outside and enjoy, a cocktail, a cup of coffee. The butler would sort of bring you anything you wanted to. There's a stocked mini bar in the room, so if you want a beer, it's just right there for you. And so some people really enjoy spending time in their cabins, and it's a beautiful place to do it. But that Yacht Club deck, the sun deck, was, I think, to me, probably the highlight of the cruise. It was just beautiful. Never had to worry about finding a chair. You'd sit down and someone was there to offer you a drink. Really nice pool, shade.
I was just going to ask. I'm a shade guy myself.
Yeah, shade and sun, and so it just kind of checked every box. And I think it was, sometimes you wouldn't even realize you were on a big ship until you looked down and realized you were 20 floors above the ocean. And so it's interesting that you can pull that off. That you can pull off this really exclusive experience on a big cruise ship. And still have, for the folks who are having the regular cruise experience, it's a nice experience, but it's not the Yacht Club. So it's very interesting that they've been able to pull that off. And so
that's awesome.
Really kudos, I think, to them for having this idea in the first place and executing on it really, really well.
Yeah, that's great. As always, I'm like, wow, I want to, like if I'm going on MSC, I'm going Yacht Club.
Exactly.
I gotta upgrade to it.
No, exactly. And surprisingly, MSC is kind of a value-priced cruise line across the board. And their Yacht Club is a pretty good, I would say it's a very good value price. And so if you were to kind of sit down and say to yourself, all right, let me compare a week in the Yacht Club to a week at a really nice room at a really nice resort, like a Sandals caliber resort, I think you'd be surprised at how much value you get on that cruise. And so that can be another, reason for folks to consider it. There were a lot of people celebrating milestone occasions on there. I always joke that there are two types of couples out there, the kind that plan their 10th or 20th wedding anniversary trip 2 years in advance, and the kind where the husband wakes up one day and says, uh-oh, I forgot. I better do something really, really special. And so this would be the perfect way to say, oh, yeah, honey, I've had this plan for a long time. But there were a lot of folks celebrating those milestone events on there as well. So this would be a great place to do it. There was a group there that were celebrating a 50th wedding anniversary, actually, and they brought a whole bunch of family members along. So those kind of celebrations, perfect way to do that as well. And I think, having those pools and the water parks and things like that for the kids can make it a really good experience for all ages when, mom and dad and grandma and grandpa are just enjoying kind of the peace and quiet of the Yacht Club sun deck. The kids can be down at the water park or doing something like that.
I love it. So I have my 25th coming up in May. But if it's not your 25th or like, another, you're trying to plan, is it too late to plan for spring of 25?
No, I think we're getting to the kind of the tight time now for that here in late September of 2024. And the cruise ships tend to sell out from the top down.
Sure.
So definitely anytime there's a big, like a spring break or a holiday, it's going to be full.
Sure.
But, if you look in January, February, we could sure find some space for folks. And then once you get kind of out of that northern winter time before summer, once school gets out down in Florida, all bets are off because cruises down from Florida are really, really busy during that time of the year. But, April, May, I think we could definitely find folks some space in there. And we can make it a whole package for you. I set this up for myself, but, we got picked up at the airport by a very nice lady holding a sign with our name on it.
Wow.
She drove us right to the pier in a little private, private limo and private sedan, and we got right on the ship. And we got off. There was somebody waiting for us, and he took us right back to the airport. And it was just a very painless, relaxing experience. And again, that worry bag kept getting smaller, but there was enough there that the butler he had to work his muscles to lift it up.
I really do like how you and your team can take care of people all the way through, and even pick them up from their house.
We can do that too. Yeah, actually, that's wow. People don't realize that, but amazing. We can have a car pick you up at your home and take you to the airport. And it's not cheap, but you look at the price of airport parking. And just again, let's try to get that worry bag down to being, a small little bag when you get on the trip and have those things taken care of so that you really can enjoy. And just something about sitting down in that car, having a glass, opening up a bottle of water and just watching the world go by and not having to worry about getting lost or missing something. It really makes a big difference. And that peace of mind that we offer to our clients is, I think, one of the priceless parts of what we do for people.
I agree. It's a big deal. Well, thank you, as always, for joining me on the Explore and More show.
You bet.
Again, Ken Conan, Ted Blank. We'll see you next week for more Explore and More.